Watching Majorkill is certainly an experience. If you guys haven't seen it yet, part 1 is in the description. Go and check it out. And also while you're down there, go over to Majorkill's video and give him a like and give him a sub.
G'day guys and gal. No, you're not seeing double and I understand the deja vu, but this is part 2 of every single Guardsman Regiment explained, as there was just way too many variants of cannon fodder for us to put into one video, without role-playing as literally any other Warhammer YouTuber who thinks a video being long makes it more digestible. Pro tip, videos are like wieners. The longer they are, the harder it will be to get your audience to go balls deep. I'm hoping people realise that this is part 2 and not just a random re-upload, otherwise this video will flop harder than me after a back-to-back morning tug. Video is only 30 seconds in and we already have 2 dick jokes, doing well. If you haven't already, I suggest watching part 1 of this video where I talk about friendly folks such as the Katachan jungle fighters and the Death Corps of Krieg, and you know, it gives me more watch time. But yeah, watch it after this, or come back to this one after you watch it, or, you know, watching them both twice is also an option. Before we get started,
dual screen.
March. The season of, well, it really depends where in the world you are. For me, it's the season that brings the end to summer and the start of bulking season. For you, you get the March Surfshark VPN Majorkill sponsorship.
Oh my god.
Consistency is key, baby. You know the drill. The internet is a big scary place full of predators, oppressive governments, and bullshit inconsistent licensing deals that usually negatively affect Australia. However, all of these issues can be easily overcome with a VPN, or more simply put, just the press of Surfshark's button.
So many things are just blocked.
Netflix library looking lonely and sad? Surfshark can fix that. Want to pretend you're an Australian to win the heart of that e-girl you keep spending money on? Surfshark can sort you out. Want to see what the internet looks like without an unspecified entity hunting you down? Surfshark has your back. What's even better is that using my link and code Majorkill below, you get 83% off and 3 months free. That value is very naughty. And if for some inconceivable apocalyptic reason that you aren't satisfied with your newfound internet superpowers, then Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the remaining half of all Imperial Guardsman regiments. There are a number of fan favourites in here, so just because I don't talk about our Kriegi boys, doesn't mean you can't achieve a semi. That's 3 now. Let's get into it. Kicking this list back off, we have the Caledon Hunters, who look like GW were just trying to tick at least 5 different minority boxes. Or they just had a bunch of leftover parts that they kit bashed together. Either way, these vicious guardsmen are more or less feral, and whilst they are tough, they are incredibly undisciplined, and most of their motivation comes from trying to outflex each other. Now onto the Canuck Skull Takers, who are really cool and tough, but they get shat on very frequently. It's kind of a rule of Warhammer that if your only real art is a black and white kid's drawing, you don't have any plot armor. Hence these melee lovers lost their homeworld to chaos and in at least one circumstance got kidnapped by the Alpha Legion. But hey, they have tiger stripes, so it's okay. If you think the Skull Takers have it rough, let me introduce the Karlach first, that don't even have any art whatsoever. What they do have is a powerful asshole that can take a pounding, as this regiment has been destroyed and reformed 3 times. First by a Gellerfield failure, another by attrition on a death world, and finally by a Tyranid invasion. I honestly don't know which of these fates is the worst. If I had to be a guardsman, there is a good chance I would choose to be an Ogren. You're big, you're naive for the horrors of the galaxy, and you get a gold star for every 10 heretics you kill. The Kuruk Ogren Auxiliary stand out above the rest as a literal doomsday weapon. These big boys have a huge appetite for destruction and violence as they tear apart tanks with their bare hands. Sometimes the entire regiment is deployed simultaneously, in which case you may as well just have dropped a bunch of nukes due to how much damage that does. Who said
Jesus. Okay, well, before we continue, I do want to add that it is sad that there are just, like, some entities within the Warhammer universe that don't have any love. But I kind of understand why. Because of how massive the scale of the lore is, there's just gonna be some things that they are not there. Yeah, we haven't touched upon them yet. They're not really that popular, so GW is probably not going to invest anything into them. In a way, maybe it's like they just threw a bunch of ideas at the wall to see what would stick, and then they just doubled down on what was working, which, I mean, granted, yeah, that's a good business strategy, but like, do we just forget about everything else? Or are they just there to be background characters? Like, do they even serve any purpose in any kind of lore?
Pilgrims were bad fighters, not the Landrian militia, who were a massive regiment made from countless monks and pilgrims who fight in the name of Saint Drossus. Funnily enough, their presence on the Imperial battlefields is likely a misunderstanding, but don't tell them that, as they make for surprisingly effective warriors, or more specifically, meat for the meat grinder. Now onto a super serious regiment, the Lucifer Blacks.
Very edgy.
This is a situation where the badass name matches their skill, as these elite warriors have fought for mankind since the dawn of the Imperium of Man. Whilst they have gone in and out of service numerous times, mostly due to political bullshit, they have always remained as fierce bodyguards, hand-chosen as the secondary protectors of the Imperial Palace, the first obviously being the Custodes. They wear badass black armor, and some even use power glaives, which is fucking awesome. Something a bit
I see. Their armor does look very cool, though, I will have to admit. But yeah, it makes sense that there's another force apart from just the Custodes that you'd probably run into first, before you ever got anywhere near the Emperor. And since those guys play a very integral role, I guess, in the way the Imperium of Man works, you would probably run into them in some game in some fashion somehow.
less graceful, we now have the Lugnum sewer rats. These niche warriors come from a mining world that is the opposite of a paradise. As a result, they became great at fighting in sewers and are just all-round wholesome people. They even stitch vibrant colours into their uniforms despite their world being the opposite, as a way to cheer up their fellow men and women. Sometimes Warhammer is a one-to-one replication of real life, more or less, and no one displays this better than the Macabrian Janissaries, an elite regiment. These highly religious killers never return to their homeworlds once they've joined the Jannies. They more or less forsake their identities as they wear silver masks in battle. They use their faith as well, just as much as their lasguns, and are a serious force to be reckoned with.
Very thematic for 40k. We can also see a pretty similar design concept going on for the Stormcast Eternals as well.
What do you get when you combine Little Red Riding Hood, flamethrowers, and fatal farts? The miasman red cows. These absolute freaks figured out how to make fuel that burns even hotter than promethium. The trade-off is that it stinks like absolute shit, hence nearly every other regiment in the galaxy refused to fight alongside these dudes. They are nicknamed the Fire Skunks for good reason.
The Fire Skunks? That's such a great name for what they do.
A number of tank legions and regiments in the Imperial Guard. Some of them are linked, such as the Steel Legion and the Minivrian Tank Legion, however the fuck you say it. See, when the Steel Legion skullfucked some heretics on a planet called Minirvia, they were given permission to colonize it. Hence, after a few generations of a bunch of tank lovers fucking each other, we were given the elite Minivrian Tank Legion as a result. Just as if not more so deadly than their ancestors, these blam blam lords rollo their treads over the corpses of the enemy on countless battlefields. Not all Ogryn are fun and naive. Pretty much every Ogryn on the planet of Monglor turned to chaos and are now being painstakingly exterminated by Space Marines. One regiment, which remained loyal however, were the Monglor Ogryn Auxiliates, a fucking tongue twister, who continue to fight in the Emperor's name on Armageddon, doing what they can to uphold their people's honour despite how badly they have fallen. If there's one thing Warhammer has taught me, it's that shitty planets breed hardy people. The modern acid dogs are a great representation of this, as they hail from an inhabitable planet that never sees sunlight and is full of extremely toxic and corrosive acid. Nice. As such, these warriors are beasts, fighting in extremely shitty war zones using a variety of gear and sporting large biceps. Maybe the acid has protein in it, you know? They also hate mutations in any form, which is a bummer for them, as living on a toxic acid planet tends to result in their babies getting mutations, then said babies getting dissolved in the acid, which gave them the mutations. I love irony. Onto the more Tressan Highlanders, who are a bunch of emos that say that the only thing in life that is important is how you die. As such, they have zero regard for human life, and will execute whoever they're told to without a second thought. If I could compare these guys to anyone in real life, it would be the soldiers who took part in the Tiananmen Square massacre. Regiments that are purely dedicated to stealth and ambush are not super common, but the Nocturne Strike Forces more than make up for this. They eat a fuckload of carrots, so their natural night vision is amazing, and they use this to great effect to perform raids.
Okay, well, yeah, it's kind of a meme at this point, but eating carrots does not improve your eyesight. There isn't really any direct link to that. Maybe there's a correlation, but That's not a pattern.
Ambushes, assassinations, and just general sneaky shit. These stealthy boys have played a big role in the wars for Armageddon. Now for another Ogren regiment, we have the Orc and Stone Crushers, who, while I'm sure they could crush stones, it's not their primary purpose. These Ogrens are extremely receptive to the Imperial cult, and they worship the God Emperor like a daddy. They love listening to Imperial priests speak, even though they barely understand what they're saying. Unfortunately for anyone who isn't an Ogren, the gravity on the planet is immense and barely tolerable, hence humans.
That's why they're so huge. They're shaped by their environment. I do enjoy that about like some of the different designs that you get when it comes to 40k. Because you can tell that people come from different places, or they come from the same place because of that, because of the environment that shaped their culture. And, well, in this instance, their very body.
Humans only make quick trips there. Eventually the planet was turned into a penal colony, just to really fuck with any prisoners sent there, much to the Ogrens' delight, as they find it funny watching people get slowly crushed to death by the gravity of a planet. The Lucifer Blacks aren't the only human guardians of the Imperial Palace. The Palatine Sentinels, which is a very sensible name, also guard it. Unlike the Blacks, however, they are significantly less well known in the Imperium, and only really had their time to shine during the hectic Cornite bum rush of the Imperial Palace. Now onto the Paragonian regiments, who are basically just goody two-shoe guardsmen. They are well organised, well armed, and well trained. Their recruitment is very sensible and makes a lot of sense, as they mostly just promote planetary defence forces to the guard when they're ready. They do have a knack for tanks, however, which we love. Now we have
just regular good people. Wow, who would have expected that?
The Fantine Air Corps and Skyborn. If it wasn't immediately obvious, these guys like to fly. Fair enough, who doesn't? But they can also afford to fly almost exclusively with no troops on the ground unless they drop them on top of you. The drop bears of Warhammer 40k. Praetorian is a really cool world, and the Praetorian Guard are, pretty cool. They look like they're about to shoot up the Congo. The planet of Pretoria is one of extreme wealth inequality. Whilst most of the population are basically slaves, the top 1% are super rich, and as a result, their guardsmen look pretty snazzy. Fortunately, this has resulted in some top tier soldiers, so slave on, I guess. Potentially the most up-themselves regiment, we now have the Prior Dragoons. Dragoons love to show off, and no one does it better than the Priorans. If you don't understand their super intricate and cringy caste system, or if you have less than 10,000 followers on Instagram, they look down on you. They refuse to work with other lesser guardsman regiments, but do they have a point, or are they just being dicks? Well, both. They are great warriors, and they are dicks. Even occasionally refusing commands from superiors from other regiments if they didn't smell nice enough.
What the hell? But you're a soldier. You follow orders. That's kind of what you're doing. But okay. Well, it's because the commander doesn't have 10,000 YouTube subs. God, they'd look down on me. They look down on all of us. I just hate those kind of people so much. But you do you.
Now, whilst it's fun to pretend that the Catachans are the Space Australians, the truth is we are more like the Rowan Deepers. And GW even said that the Rowan Deepers were based off Aussie soldiers. Poorly equipped, laid back, and incapable of stealth, these chilled out warriors don't have the best reputation, but when it comes to push and shove, they'll have your back. They fought alongside Gaunt's ghosts, which means something. Different motivational tactics are required for different people. For some people it's money, others is glory, but for the Savlar Chemdogs, it's an opportunity to escape their shitty ass planet. The Chemdogs are prisoners of the shitty toxic world of Savlar, who are surprisingly disciplined and hardy considering they're criminals. I guess if my only chance to escape one of the worst planets in the galaxy was to join the Guard, I would behave as well.
Yeah, to be fair, I would too. If your planet just sucks, just leave. Do whatever they tell you.
Now into the regiments of the Centillion Fuluses and Grenadiers. This is giving me flashbacks to Age of Empires days, which are ongoing. The Grenadiers are extremely elite guardsmen sporting nearly the best gear a mortal can wield. They generally fight as the commander's personal force. The Fuluses actually have one of the coolest gear I've seen, and are taken from the sons and daughters of the noble houses of the world. Once again, like the Grenadiers, the Fuluses are very elite. That's just definitely not how you say it, and people are going to be mad at me in the comments, but that's alright, Aussie slang baby. Often confused for the sexy bombarders, the Semtexian are masters of blowing you up from ages away. Their mining world allows them to build and use large formations of artillery, which they use to great effect due to them being formed after the orcs in the area were getting a bit too loud. Anakin might not like sand, but that doesn't mean everyone else doesn't. Cue the Talaran Desert Raiders, who are from Talaran and raid in the desert. Whoop whoop. These towel-headed warriors are as Arab as they come, wielding curved swords and blowing themselves up. Actually, they don't really do the second part, but you know what I mean. These guys actually fought off the Iron Warriors during the Heresy, which is very impressive. Now onto a bit.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. Of course. Should have expected it. We didn't get any, like, Desert Raiders in the first part, so.
Of a superstar, the Tanith first and only, Gaunt's Ghosts. These dudes had it rough. As soon as they were founded, their home planet was blown up and only one regiment survived. You know, hence the name First and Only. Taken under the wing of Ibram Gaunt, these rookies used a burning vengeance in their souls to become an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. Their stealth and espionage skills are second to none. They fight battle after battle, winning against impossible odds and changing the course of multiple wars. There is nothing more dangerous than men with nothing to lose. Next up is the Terex Guard, who surprisingly aren't pterodactyls. I want to kill myself. Not much is written about these dudes, other than the fact that they're good at killing shit and most of them cosplay as a commissar. Craigie boys ain't the only ones to use shovels. Surprisingly, the tools have effectiveness beyond bludgeoning people to death with. The Truscan snowhounds use them to clear out their driveways during the winter. As their planet is constantly in winter, they're pretty good at it. On top of this, the constant whiteout has resulted in them becoming amazing snipers. No setting would be complete without space Russians. In Mother Valhalla, the vodka drinks you. In seriousness, these fluffy-hatted beasts are a joy. Coming from the ice world of Valhalla, these dudes enjoy long walks on the glaciers and gutter stomping the living fuck out of orcs. They don't retreat, they never surrender, and they love bombing the shit out of the bad guys.
I mean, even in fantasy,
now onto the Vigilant
the
Guard, who are named due to their planet called Vigilus, not because they're especially aware or cautious of their surroundings or anything. These guys are so faithful and religious that they get blessings and miracles similar to that of a Sister of Battle. This makes them super resistant to chaos and actually quite inspirational. They're like the Anglican variant of Christianity. Now onto the Vitrian Dragoons, who I must say, look fucking sick. Probably even the best looking guardsmen on this list. Each soldier has a special Bible called the Beata, which they take super seriously. Only a Vitrian can open their own Beata, due to the books being locked with a gene code. They're awesome fighters, and they followed the solid rule of spray and pray. Now onto the Vostrian Firstborn, who have a bit of an awkward history. See, when the Horus Heresy broke out, the Emperor was like, lol, help, and the planet of Vostrian was like, look, we can make you guys tons of weapons, but if we send all of our men to fight, that means we can't make as many weapons, so we're just gonna not fight and we'll just keep making guns. Well, apparently that was the wrong fucking answer, and these dudes are now forced to provide each of their firstborn children to the Imperial Guard, hence the name. To be honest, I feel like their reasoning for not going to direct war was pretty fair, but Gilliman himself was the one that dished out the punishment, so I guess I'm just a fucking idiot. Next up is the Vresh Grenadiers, who are just poor versions of the Cadians. Yeah, that's literally all there is to them. Finally, we have the Zeonian Free Companies, who are... yeah, they come from Xenon, and they fought at the Battle of Cadia, and I don't know, they like Monopoly. Yeah, there's really not much on these guys. Fuck me, we did it. All the Guardsman regiments explained. I'm gonna go have a bat and go to sleep now. And that does us for today, you guys. Every single Guardsman Regiment Explained Part 2. Be sure to see Part 1 if you haven't already. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Where the $1 per month give you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more Part 2 content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Not gonna lie, the Vitrian Dragoons are definitely one of my most favorite designs that I've seen so far from all the Guardsmen. It just looks so sleek and clean, yet dangerous and powerful. It's definitely one of my favorite design aesthetics. There's actually quite a huge diversity when it comes to the Guardsmen, which I never really knew about because, well, we had kind of just glossed over them when we talked about it in Bricky's video. But just like the Space Marines, there seems to be something for everyone here, and I'm glad for it, even though there are some that clearly don't get any love at all. That's unfortunate, but I guess it's inevitable. Of course, go and give Majorkill a like and a sub, and I will catch you guys in the next one.